These are the general features of Aschelminthes. Then we will also discuss the classification of Aschelminthes. We will discuss the general features of Wuchereria ascaris as well as its life history and parasitic adaptations. If you go through the previous year questions, you will see that the questions related to the general features, the diagram of female ascaris and labeling it, and the life cycle, again the parasitic adaptations, parasitic modes of adaptations, ascariasis, the disease caused due to ascaris, modes of transmission as well as the harmful effects, the sexual dimorphism. Then the question related to Wuchereria, the life cycle, parasitism. So mainly the questions revolve around these topics. So we will discuss about the general features. The Aschelminthes, they are also called as a nematoda. Okay, they are also called as a nematoda. The body organization, they are triploblastic and pseudocoelomates. Pseudocoelomates I already explained in the coelom topic. And triploblastic, it has the three germ layers, that is ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. Ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. So the body is bilaterally symmetrical. The body can be divided into two equal halves through one axis or one plane. And the shape of the body, you will see they are vermiform. They are vermiform. They are elongated. They are cylindrical. They are unsegmented. And they have tapering ends. So they are elongated, unsegmented, and they have these tapering ends. The body covering is thick, flexible, made up of cuticle, and it's made up of cuticle in order to protect it from the host enzyme and parasites. The digestive system is complete with mouth and anus. They have a tube within tube. So this is a tube that contains the mouth and anus, and then it is uncovered by whole body. So this is tube within tube. There is a tube within tube. That's why it's called as a tube within tube body plan. The coelom, it has a pseudocoelom. That is the coelom, the cavity, it's not lined by the mesoderm and it's a fluid filled cavity. The circulatory system, a proper circulatory system is absent, and the transportation, it occurs via the pseudocoelomic fluid. Okay, it occurs via the pseudocoelomic fluid. Then again you will observe that the excretory system, the excretion, it is via the rennet cells or excretory canal. They are ammonotelic or ureotelic. The excretory material is ammonia or the urea. Then the nervous system, they have a nerve ring. They have a nerve ring at the proximal end, and there are longitudinal nerve cords attached to this nerve ring. So the musculature, they only have the longitudinal muscles. They have a longitudinal muscle. Longitudinal muscles means, for example, this is the body. If you will see, they have tapering ends and they have only the long muscles. These are the long muscles. They do not have these are the circular muscles, but the circular muscles are absent in them. They only have the long muscles. Then the reproduction, it's mostly dioecious. There is sexual dimorphism, that is male and female are separate, and the internal fertilization takes place. The development, it's direct or indirect. Direct means there are no larval forms, and indirect means there are many. They show the larval stages. The habit and habitat, they live freely. They can be living in these parasitic forms. They can be aquatic, terrestrial. So they have different modes of living, and examples include Ascaris lumbricoides, Wuchereria bancrofti, and Enterobius vermicularis, that is the pinworm, then Encyclostoma, that is the hookworm. If you see, these are some of the examples of the Aschelminthes. This is the Ascaris. The male and female are separate. We will discuss them. Then Encyclostoma. Male and female are separate. This is the microfilaria of the Wuchereria. Now we will see some classification. This classification was given by the L.H. Hyman in 1951, and just basically you just understand there is first class nematoda. You can go through these orders, but the important orders are like there is this Ascaroidea, one important, then Strongyloidea, Then another important is Phileroidea. These are the orders under the Nematoda. And then we have Nematophora. Nematophora includes like Nectonema, Nectonematodia, the Nectonematoideae, that are the orders, or Chordoidea. Then Rotifera. Rotifers are small organisms. We will see the characters. These include these Cysonocia, Cysonaceae. There is this Budyloideae, the different orders. Then we have a class Gastrotricha, which includes the Chitonotoideae and Macrodesyoidea. Then Chinorhyncha, they include Echinodermis. So the classes are important: Nematoda, Nematomorpha, Rotifera, Gastrotricha, Chinorhyncha. You can see that Nematoda, these nematodes are the cylindrical unsegmented body, complete alimentary canal, pseudocoelom is present, and they include parasites like Ascaris and Wuchereria. Here is the example of the class Nematoda. Then is the example of class Rotifera. This is a rotifer. If you will see closely, this is the rotifer. They have a foot with toes, there is anus, stomach, there is this mastex, and then there is digestive gland, pseudocoel is present, intestine, stomach, cilia, and at the anterior end they have the cilia, which is also called as corona. There is a portion called corona. So rotifers, they have a wheel organ. These are microscopic, and ciliated corona is present for locomotion and feeding, mostly in fresh water. Then we have Gastrotricha. These are microscopic and ventrally ciliated. And the cuticle, it's often with spine, scales, and they are free living aquatic forms. So this is the class Gastrotricha. This is a representative organism. You will observe that it has cilia around the ventral surface. There are protonephridia, other organs like intestines, caudal forks, eggs are, you can see eggs are present in it, brain, mouth, all other organs are present. So this is Gastrotricha. After that we have Chinorhyncha. It is marine, it's microscopic, it is segmented pseudocoelomates, it has spiny head for burrowing. And at the end we have Nematomorpha, which is long hair-like worms, and these are horsehair worms. These are parasitic larvae and free living adults. If you will, you must have seen some videos on the YouTube or Instagram. You will see that there is this grasshopper, and when they put this grasshopper in water, you see a long thread-like worm coming out of this grasshopper. So this is that worm. So this is class Nematomorpha. So this is from class Nematomorpha, and this is class Chinorhyncha. So after this we also have two different groups in the nematoda. One is the Phasmida, another one is the Aphasmida. If you see, in case of the nervous sensory structures, there are amphids and phasmids. These phasmids, these are the posterior, these are towards the tail, these are present towards the tail region. These are depressions, and they are used for chemicals, to sense the chemicals in the water. And amphids, they are in the anterior region. They are used for sensing chemicals in the water, but in the anterior region, and phasmids are in the posterior region. So the two groups, that is the Phasmida and Aphasmida. The Phasmida contain the phasmids as sensory organs. Aphasmida do not have phasmids. Amphids are pore-like and they are located laterally near the head. And in case of aphasmida, they are more complex, spiral or pouch-like. The excretory system is well developed in phasmida and poorly developed in aphasmida. The phasmids, they are mostly parasitic and terrestrial, and the aphasmids, they are mostly free living, which are marine or freshwater. And then the phasmids, they are rich in lipids and they have well developed cuticle. And in case of aphasmids, they do not have a proper cuticle. Caudal glands are absent in phasmids and their presence is in aphasmids. The examples include Ascaris, Wuchereria, Enterobius, and here the examples are Trichuris, Trichinella, Inoplus. Reproductive system: in case of phasmids, the males usually have a single testes, and here they have two testes. The sensory papillae or diretes, they are present in some and they are absent in aphasmids. They have direct or larval stages, and in aphasmids they are mostly direct development. So this is all about the general features and the classification. Now if we go through the Ascaris, the mentioned organisms in this portion. First one is Ascaris lambrecoids. It belongs to the phylum Aschelminthes. The class is Phasmida. Then the order is Ascaroidea. The family is Ascaridae and genus is Ascaris. Species is lambrecoids. If you see the diagram closely, there is this sexual dimorphism. The male and female are separate. You will see that this is the male. There is proper mouth in both male and female. There is excretory pore here. There is lateral line, which is a sensory structure in it. Then the anus is present, but in case of male, there is pineal seta or the tail. Okay, there is pineal seta or the tail. And if you will observe that both are looking same, but the female, it is longer than the male. In case of female, you will also observe one more structure, that is the female gonopore. Female gonopore. And here in male, there will be the cloacal aperture. So this is the structure. If you will observe, here you can see a clear diagram of the lateral line, female gonopore. There is triradiate mouth with lips. There are pineal setae, cloacal aperture, curved tail, and in case of females, they have a straight tail. So this one is the female and this one is the male. If you will see some of the features, the first feature is that it belongs to the phylum Nematoda. The common name is roundworm. Habitat is that they are the endoparasite in the small intestine of humans. Okay, the body is long, cylindrical, tapering at both ends. They are symmetrical. They have bilateral symmetry, and the body cavity is pseudocoelomates that we already studied. Body wall is made up of cuticle. They have syncytial epidermis and longitudinal muscles. Syncytial epidermis means they have multiple nucleus. They have multiple nucleus in the epidermal cells. They have unsegmented body and the digestive system is complete. Tube within tube system. Tube within tube system. Circulatory system is absent. There is absence of the respiratory system, so there is gas exchange by the diffusion. The excretory system contains H-shaped excretory canal system and they excrete the nitrogenous waste. The nervous system is circumpharyngeal rings are present and there are these nerve cords. So the reproduction you saw that they have sexual dimorphism, sexes are separate, and then the fertilization is internal. The eggs, they are thick shelled, they are called as the embryonated eggs. Embryonated eggs, because these are thick shell. The development is direct or slightly indirect. There are some juvenile stages, there is slight molting also, and then the transmission, it's through the contaminated food or water. Infective stage is the second juvenile stage, that is the second larval stage, and locomotion is through the whip-like motion via the longitudinal muscle. It moves like this, and the disease caused is the ascariasis. It leads to the abdominal discomfort and malnutrition or intestinal blockage too. So these are the some of the general features related to this. Now let's see some of the specialized features of the ascaris. The anterior portion in particular, you will see at the anterior there are presence of this structure which contains, you will see that there are these denticulate margin of lips. It has a triradiate mouth structure anteriorly. So you will observe that here we have three structures containing lateral papillae, latroventral lips. There are double papillae at these two ends. There is mid dorsal lip, and then there is presence of amphids at the anterior end, and the mouth is bounded by these lips. So if you will see at the end, there is presence of cloaca in males. There is presence of anus and a proper tail in females, and posteriorly there are also some papillae present, and in females there are this female gonopore. So this is a closed structure of this. You will also see there are various parasitic adaptations. If you will see first the behavioral adaptation, that is, there is migration through the tissues. In the life cycle we will see that there is migration through the tissues, that these larvae, they will migrate from the lungs during development, and then they will also avoid the immune detection temporarily, and the negative response to the light they have, that's why they will always stay deep in the intestines away from the harmful light. There are immune evasion mechanisms present. The surface antigen variation in the ascaris, you have this ascaris, and over the surface there is this surface antigen variation which always tricks the host's immune system most of the times in order to avoid the detection. Then we have enzyme secretions. They secrete some anti-enzymes in order to neutralize the host defense system. Then the physiological adaptation, first one is the anaerobic respiration. Then its eggs are covered by chitinous shell, which makes it resistant. The eggs are very resistant. They have high fecundity, 2 lakh eggs per day, which is very high. Then the reproductive adaptation is that they have sexual dimorphism. Fertilization is internal in order to protect and development of the zygote. Then the life cycle, it has a direct life cycle. And morphological adaptations include, they have a thick cuticle. Okay, the body shape, it's cylindrical and elongated for peristaltic movement through the intestines, and the body, it is simple in structure, and pseudocoelom is present. So the pseudocoelom, it acts as a hydrostatic skeleton. Then if you will see some of the developmental stages and the life cycle of the ascaris, let's first discuss the stages of development. In case of stages of development, you will see that initially we have this primary oocyte which is going to be fertilized by this sperm. Okay. After this, the egg is formed. After the fertilization, egg is formed. If you will see closely, this egg is covered by a chitinous shell. That's why it is a resistant egg. Inside the egg, the zygote will develop. This zygote will undergo divisions. It will form 2-cell stage, then 4-cell stage, that is T-shaped, then rhomboidal 4-cell stage, then 6-cell stage, and slowly it will form the 8-cell stage. Later on, it will form the blastula. Blastula will form the gastrula with all the ectoderm, endoderm, and the blastocele gets reduced. There is stomodium. an invaginated cavity, and slowly it will further develop into a young larva. This young larva contains the buccal cavity, the mouth, the nerve ring. There is presence of pharynx, there is intestines, rectum, anus, tail. So this is the young larva. That is the second free stage larva. It's free. So this is the whole developmental stages. Now we will see how the life cycle is carried out. So what happens that this larva, this second larval stage, it remains free in the environment. Okay, whenever an individual, they will take in the contaminated food or drink or water or whatever, when it comes into the body, this larval stage, this second larval stage, it will hatch out. Okay, the second larval stage will hatch out. When will hatch out of the egg, you will observe that this second larval stage, it will slowly develop. Okay, it will slowly develop, and it will develop into adult slowly, and some of them, they will move into the liver. While moving into the liver, you will see that through the liver they will enter into the hepatic portal vein. In the hepatic portal vein, they will move towards the heart through the postcaval vein. After moving through the postcaval vein, they will also enter into the lungs, because the system, the respiratory circulatory system, they are interconnected. Once it enters into the lungs, it will develop into third larval stage and then fourth larval stage. From the fourth larval stage, they will further develop and they will enter into the, for example, this individual, it will cough, it will sneeze, it will again go into the mouth. These fourth larval stage go into the mouth, and they are again ingested back into the body. When they are ingested, they will further develop into the in the intestine. They will undergo development and they will form adult male and female. After the formation of this adult male and female, they will enter into the intestines again. So here you will make one correction, that the second larval stage, they will hatch out and they will enter the liver, and they will not show any development in this case. So they will hatch out and they will enter into the liver, and the cycle will go on until they develop or mature in the intestines. Once they mature in the intestine, they will produce the eggs. After the copulation, after the production of the eggs, these eggs will come out through the feces, and when they will come out of the feces, they will remain in the environment and they will develop the first stage of larva, and slowly the second, and the cycle will repeat. So the Ascaris lambrequoides, it's a parasitic roundworm and it infects the humans. It involves several stages and include both environmental and human host phases. So the life cycle, firstly, there are about 2 lakh eggs per day, and the feces, eggs are passed in the feces and they require 2 to 4 weeks in soil in order to become embryonated. So embryonated eggs are the infective eggs. They are thick walled and they can survive harsh conditions for months or even years. So ingestion by the human host, this creates the infection. Okay, so when any contaminated food, drink or water, whatever is taken, or hands, even dirty hands, if they touch the mouth, so they will transfer the eggs, these embryonated eggs, into the body. And after the transfer of these embryonated eggs, these eggs will hatch in the small intestines and they will release the larvae. After the release of the larvae, they will penetrate the intestinal wall and they will enter the bloodstream, and through that they will enter into the liver. After entering the liver, after some days, they will enter into the lungs. From lungs, they will mature for 10 to 14 days and they will ascend to the bronchi and trachea and are swallowed again.